So I was given the opportunity to build some lots for the new Sims pack. I'll link down below my video where I toured all of them, but I thought I would show you guys the process and like how I actually built the starter home that ended up being the finished product, because this starter home, I spent so much time on this. Honestly, I spent so much time on all of these lots. I mean, like hours every day for weeks. I have 50 hours in the version of The Sims that they gave us to work on these. So, and that's just building. I didn't even play with the pack. Like I had it, but I didn't play. I was just building. And I built the starter home like 5 or 6 times before I settled on what I wanted it to actually look like. There were a few difficulties with the starter home, like limitations that are a little bit abnormal when you build. So obviously this has to be just the base game and the new pack. 20,000 simoleon budget. They wanted it to be 2 bedrooms. I wanted it to have a bunch of skill building items in it so that it's actually functional and like a nice playable home. I wanted it to look good. It's on a 20 by 15 lot, but also when I was building this, we didn't have all the items that were coming with the pack yet. We did eventually, but not in the beginning. And also the items that we were going to use hadn't been tagged for price yet. So they didn't have prices. Some of them were 0 simoleons. Some of them had prices but weren't actually finalized yet. And so what I was building, trying to fit in the budget, could actually change because the prices could be higher or lower or whatever, and I didn't really know what to expect. So that was a concern. It ended up being totally fine. My house cost about like 17,000 simoleons. With the lot, the price of the lot, you have 112 simoleons left over when you buy it. But usually when you buy this house, you might have 2 Sims because it's a 2 Sim starter home. There's 2 bedrooms. But I did it, and it was cut close. I didn't know how much the lot was gonna cost either when I first started building it. I started budgeted for like 2,000 to 2,500 simoleons for the cost of the lot. So when I first started building, I gave myself 15,000 simoleons, and I was like, you're gonna build this house with this much money because you wanna have wiggle room, because who knows what's gonna happen. I think I ended up going a little bit over that, and then of course the prices sort of changed and stuff, and then it ended up costing 17,000, but it's fine. So here's some footage from August 17th, like when I first got the version of the game, when I was like first trying to build the starter home. The first thing that I tried ended up being kind of what I went with. I first started doing a 2-story sort of starter home. I liked the idea of it matching the houses that were around nearby in the neighborhood. I wanted it to look similar, but better, you know? I tried also doing a 1-story starter home a couple times because I know that like having stairs on a 2nd floor makes the house cost a lot more money. And so in my mind, I was like, maybe we could do 1 story and then it would be cheaper and be more functional. But then if it's 1 story, it like looks really small compared to the other houses nearby, so we ended up keeping it 2 stories. This is way back before we even had access to the new windows, so I was like trying to do it with base game windows. I knew what the windows were going to look like because I had seen like concept art, I could see in the houses in other neighborhoods, but I didn't actually have access to the windows yet. So I was like putting base game windows as a filler and using like base game wallpaper. I did have the roof, but we didn't have anything else. So you'll see I'm using like base game furniture as filler stuff too, because we didn't have any of the existing furniture. So this house changed a ton. This isn't even the final version that I ended up using, but this is kind of an insight into my process and like how I started, because I came in and I was like trying to lay out all the furniture that I wanted. I was like, okay, I know that I want to have like a desk. I know I wanted to have this. I want to have this. I want to do this. I want to have all these things. So I was trying to lay it out and keep the budget. I think I did an okay job, although at this point we were getting really down to the wire and I didn't even have wallpaper yet. So this was just like a first draft before we even had anything in the game. And then I built it again. So we just bulldozed it. We started completely over. This house, I was trying to have a little bit more of a front yard. I wanted the yard to look a little bit less dirt. So I was trying to do something similar with the shape, but I wanted to have a bit of a yard. Obviously I didn't end up actually keeping this. I ended up going for like a patio sort of porch thing instead. We also obviously still do not have the windows and doors. So this was a work in progress as well. The interior ended up being very similar in this one. Still not the finished product though. Then I did it again. This is the one that I was trying to do 1-story because I thought maybe if I do it this way, we could have more money to work with to make the lot look more complete. Like I was trying to get a little bit of a backyard. You'll see I was trying to do like more curved roof pieces, but they're kind of clipping a little bit. I don't know if you can see the like tearing in the roof pieces because of the clipping and stuff. So I ended up changing this. We didn't keep this version of the house at all, but it was an option. I liked the floor plan a lot. I thought it turned out kind of cool. I liked the like slightly raised kitchen and things like that. But also at this point, like platforms weren't really done. You can see I have this like base game wallpaper as a filler because the wallpaper wasn't in the game yet. And then I built it again. And this one is is what ends up being the final product. Of course, I changed it a bunch and like went back and added and removed things and stuff over the course of like the rest of the project. But this one was originally built on August 26th. The other two were like more like the 17th, earlier in between that area. And of course, like over the last couple months, we've been sort of making adjustments and stuff. But I started out with a very similar shape. Like I wanted to keep this sort of style because I figured it matched the other houses nearby pretty well. I was like going back and forth, making it smaller, adding more space, making it smaller again, because I was trying to save as much money as possible. We only have 10,000 simoleons left right now, so you can see it's gonna be a work in progress. But now at this point, obviously we have access to the wallpapers, so we're actually able to use like the real stuff now because it's been added to the game now. So we have the real windows and doors, we have the wallpaper. I knew what I wanted the old houses to look like, we just didn't have the stuff to make them. So it was kind of difficult to like get that across. So they look really funny, like looking back on them, but like I knew what I was doing. It looks ridiculous when you look at it and think like, wow, it's a good thing that changed, but I just didn't have the right stuff yet, okay? It was coming. We were getting there. I also used this like more orangey toned wood on this starter home, and I think it turned out really cute. Like I don't really often like to use that orangey wood color, but I think it looks really good in this house. The furniture definitely went through a lot of phases of me trying to decide what I wanted to do. At this point, I didn't even have any of the platforms in here yet. In my mind, I was like, it's a starter home. We don't have enough money for platforms, but we made it work. It turned out that we did. We also were lacking a lot of the furniture, so I did have like tables and a couple couches and stuff to work with, but keep in mind, we didn't have all of the furniture yet. So a lot of the things that I ended up using weren't in the game yet at this point. So again, it just obviously changes a lot. So I was putting like filler things that I wanted to use, but didn't really know. I'm not a huge fan of the orange wood inside of the house, so I ended up changing that. You'll see that I did. We don't even have a couch in the finished version, but you'll see once we show you the finished one. This might be the right version, but like it looks nothing like the end product. So it's kind of funny looking back on. I think at this point, I'm not certain, but I think at this point the counters that we had weren't tagged for price yet. And so I was using the base game ones because I knew that the counters were probably going to be similar in cost to the later ones. And so I was like, let's use the base game ones, hopefully change it to the new ones, but at least we know for a fact that these will like be around the right price so we don't like blow the budget. Because I wanted to have nice counters, but I also wanted the house to be reasonably priced. So I was trying to like balance that there. This is me trying to, oh, here we go. We're trying to add in platforms at this point. The other struggle is the lack of move objects. So we didn't have move objects in this version. We weren't supposed to use cheats like that in the build. And so it was kind of fiddly with me trying to like alt place things just where I wanted them, make the windows fit where I wanted them and stuff like that, but it ended up working out in the end. You can see this is kind of getting a lot closer to what the actual finished product will look like. Upstairs, it's very similar to how it ends up looking. I tried a lot of different things with this. I don't think it was all the best idea. Like, what was this wraparound thing? Like, what was I thinking with that? Why did you do that? I did want to make sure I had at least a tree. So we put like a little planter box and then one of those red trees that's sort of around in the background because I wanted it to look not super empty. I wanted to have at least something in here. It was kind of weird building these because I'm so used to having move objects and like sizing objects up and down and like using these like little build sheets, and we weren't supposed to use build sheets in these builds. So it was kind of an adjustment to try and like get used to not doing that. I think it worked out pretty well. And that is basically the finished exterior. I want to show you guys what it actually looks like now though. So here is what we ended up with. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 20 by 15 lot, cost 17,602 simoleons. And then if you move a sim in, remaining funds 112. Okay, using this sim in this costume is a terrible example. Can you please get out of this house? Bored, uninspiringly decorated from being a snob in a normal environment. It's a starter home. Uninspiringly decorated? Do you know how much time it took me to get to this point? What part of I built this 6 times do you not understand? Little marshmallow looking, I'm sorry. Anyway, here's the house. Here's the finished house. So you can see it's sort of changed a lot from what I had in that footage that I showed you. I wanted to show you guys like some evolutions of me trying to do this. Even like the color scheme in the bedrooms has changed. We ended up going for less furniture, partially as a money saving tactic, but also because this is a pretty common layout for Japanese homes to have like this table here in front of the TV and stuff. So it makes sense. Part of me does feel a little bit like this area might be a little empty, but also it is a starter home. So we want to keep that in mind as we're playing with this, right? Like you can't have it all. I do love how the layout is in the kitchen. I think this turned out great. I was impressed that I managed to have decorations in here, like having these wall decorations, like even the plants outside. We've got an easel, like that's pretty good. And then upstairs I managed to get a computer, and we have the bonsai tree and a mirror and like a dresser and this whole bathroom. Like I think that we really did well to have a lot of items in this house. And I don't think that from the outside it looks like a cheap starter home. So I think that is a feat. I didn't want it to look like it's a starter home from the outside. I'd prefer if it blended in really well with the neighborhood and stuff, and I think it does just that. And I think it's very functional if you were to actually move in and play with it. You've immediately got space for 2 Sims, maybe even 3. You have the TV, you have these like various skill building tools. That's always the thing that I want to make sure I achieve with starter homes. I want to have the tech in them. I just think it's so important to have a computer. Like in The Sims 4, your Sims need it for so many things. Like so many careers need the computer. Like maybe you need to like research something for work, or maybe you're a writer, or maybe your kids want to play computer games. Like the computer is just so multifunctional, obviously, that I want to make sure every Sims house has one, but it's expensive, and it's nice to have a TV to like watch and get your fun up and stuff, but that's expensive. And so it's just this game of trying to balance like, how can I afford these things but also still be cheap but also still look nice? And like I think I managed to make it work pretty well. I'm a huge fan of the color scheme outside. I think I love this wood tone. I like the texture on it too. I think that ended up looking really nice. And look at this tree, only 90 simoleons. Thank God. I mentioned it in my other video, but this sign you'll see in all of the houses that I built, and also in every house that everyone else built for this. This sign has a function. Essentially what it does, it's called taming of the shoe, and it sets a rule in your house so that no one will wear shoes inside, which is really common in Japan, obviously. And I love that it functions that way. So they wanted us to include that in every house, and I kind of tried to embrace it as like a decorative object in the kitchen. We even have a microwave. As if that's like an impressive feat. Hot pot? I don't think that was in the game when I last checked. Cool. Okay, sorry. I've been playing this for a while, and each time I play, there's like new things. So that's actually really exciting. It's a shame I only have 112 simoleons. Okay. Well, anyway, this is the house that I built. This is the final starter home. I love the neighborhood that it's in. You can see over here, this is a park that Deli built. There's a bar down there as well. I also built this house over here. I'm so excited about this world. I think this is one of the best worlds they've ever had. And the fact that like it has these builds that are so awesome. Not even mine. Like mine don't count. Mine aren't awesome builds. But like the builds that everybody else did, like having those really nice community lots, it's just, oh, it's gonna be so good. I am so excited. But I will stop rambling on and on about my small little tiny starter home. I will link the past videos I've made about this new world down below. I have a video where I toured all the builds that I built if you want to like watch just that and see less of the process. So I'll link that as well. And I'll also link like everybody else's builds because obviously there are so many to check out. And on that note, I'm going to go. So please make sure to leave a like and comment and subscribe and do all those fun YouTube things. And in case you guys didn't know, I post new videos every single day. And so I will see you all tomorrow. Bye everybody.